Welcome. Good evening, everybody. I know it's like the midnight hour, but we're going to do this. I promised yesterday to talk about the tea I use and why it's so beneficial. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand insulin resistance and how this tea that I talk about all the time actually helps. Maybe if you know why it's helping, you'll understand why it might be need to be a part of your life. So if you're struggling with weight loss, if you have achy joints, if you have gut issues, if you have memory issues, if you're headed down the road to being diabetic, if you have any of the things that are on the list above my head or right here, I want you to know that insulin resistance either is at the core of it or is contributing to it. A lot of these things go back and forth in creating insulin that rises. Insulin rising creates a lot of these things. Regardless, I have a number of people who have been able to address their insulin resistance and as a result start to address all of these things on the list above, and I'm one of them. So almost 4 years ago now, I was struggling, and I'm going to start with this. I had a comment today. Somebody said that they didn't want to listen to what I had to say because I don't follow the medical medium. Look, I never bashed him. I think the medical medium has done some great work, but here's the thing. What most people don't realize, I haven't talked about it for a long time. Before I found the system, so I want you to hear this because maybe this relates to you. I was struggling. I felt like I did everything. I did keto. I was working out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day to be an athlete. I did all of the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I followed my doctor's advice. I was on 13 different medications. I was struggling. I ended up utilizing the medical medium for some of his work. And what people don't know is when I drove in to try and get my health back, I was doing everything possible. And it just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I forgot to grab my water. So I actually went through his book, and I like cross-referenced everything I was suffering, which was most of these things up here. And I'm a huge spreadsheet person. So I listed out all the things that he recommended on a spreadsheet, and then I tried to find where all of these things intersected, and then I pulled out the things that he said would help me so that I could affect the most of my problems as possible. And every day I was making these shakes and I was drinking these green shakes full of all of the stuff he recommended. And I probably spent 2 to 3 times a month on what I'm spending now on the system I talk about. And I did it for a long time. I have friends and family who came over and saw all this baskets of stuff on my counter of things that I was adding into the shakes. My Ninja mixer was sitting on the counter. You opened up my fridge, it was full of wild blueberries, and you open up the freezer and you open up the fridge and there's like all this naturally made stuff and kale and all of these things in my fridge. And I was very careful and I was very religious about doing all of the things that were recommended. I didn't just do it for a week or 2 weeks or a month. I did it for a long time. And let me fix it. I had a headset in earlier and I left it on the counter. So let's start over. Um, let's just start over. Hopefully you can hear me now. Can you all hear me now? I hope you can. So I was talking about your health and insulin resistance, and maybe I just had to get this piece about the medical medium off of my chest. Not that I have anything bad to say about him, but when somebody says I don't trust her, she doesn't follow the medical medium's advice. What they don't know is I absolutely did follow that advice, but after a long period of time and every 3 days going to the grocery store to get all of the things that I needed, I wasn't getting better. And that's when I stumbled on the system that I do. And I'm going to talk about the T part of the system tonight. And within 2 months, actually in the first week, I started noticing marked changes in a lot of my symptoms. And then my blood work started changing over time. And I got off of 13 medications and I started feeling better. And that has maintained for 4 years now. I've been doing the system for 4 years. I'm still not considered diabetic to this day. My liver is healing. My heart is healing. My eyes are healing. My hair is more healthy than it's ever been in my life. And it was simpler. So one of the things that I had issue with the medical medium stuff, if you don't know him, go look it up, is that it was so complicated. I had this spreadsheet pasted to my refrigerator, and I had to remember all of these things and trying to order in all of the stuff to make these shakes to hopefully help my health. And I spent way more money on it than I do on two teas and a pre-meal drink now. But also, this is portable. I can take it with me anywhere. I travel a lot. When I'm on a plane, in an airport, in a bus, a car, or whatever, I feel like Dr. Seuss. I can take this with me anywhere. It fits in my pocket, in my purse. I can mix it up in water, and I'm good to go. Now, and we're going to talk about the tea cookie just a second. We're going to talk about it. If you're interested in the tea right now, go to the link in my profile. I will pop it in over on Facebook, YouTube, all of that. But just go to my link and start to look at the tea. We're going to talk about the benefits of the tea and why it made such marked change in my health when all these other things didn't help. So I'm not here to talk about how anything bad about anybody, but what I want to say is all those shakes I was doing, all of that natural stuff, buying all of this stuff cost me way more than what I'm spending now, and it was complicated. I couldn't take my Ninja with me everywhere. I couldn't take the frozen blueberries and the kale and all this black seed oil and everything on the plane. I just couldn't haul it with me. So then what do you do? How do you maintain your health if you're not tied to your house when you're doing a regimen like that? Plus, I have a lot of naturopathic practitioners who had similar protocols that they were giving to their patients that now just recommend this. Okay, so we're going to get into the tea. We're going to get into what all this is. All this is it's a system that was meant to or designed to address insulin resistance, which is at the root of almost all of our diseases and disorders. Look at this list above. If you find yourself in more than one of those, I want you to understand that you probably are insulin resistant. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm a real world woman that goes and reads some papers and listens to the guys who do know. So let's understand that. But it's a tea I have twice a day, and it's a pre-meal drink that I have before I eat. So that's it. I didn't have to change anything drastically. Today I had my little egg concoction, my little bundt cake egg thing with eggs and cottage cheese in it, and then ham and cheese, no nitrate ham and cheese on top. High in proteins, high in fats. That's how I started my day after I finished my fasting. But for dinner tonight, we had family night. I made cookies with my grandson. We had coconut lime chicken, Thai chicken over rice tonight. I didn't have to skip the rice. I didn't have to skip the carbs. I just had the pre-meal drink beforehand, and it helps reduce a spike of glucose by about 37 to 40% when taken with a meal. That's huge. That's how we start getting to addressing insulin resistance and all of this stuff up here. Now, I promised to talk about the tea, so I got to pull up my notes because you guys, I'm a real woman. I can't remember everything. I do the research, but let's join in here. So, one of the first things I want to talk about, what is really a hot topic right now, you're going to see all over TikTok shop, all these people selling yerba mate tea and talking about how it increases your GLP-1 and all of that stuff. All of that is true. What they're not telling you is this tea is the only tea on the market that has been extracted, concentrated, and highly purified to give you the purest form of those components that are helping naturally increase your GLP-1. GLP-1, nuts and bolts. It's a hormone. They call it an incretin hormone, and it's elicited in your body to help address blood sugar, insulin, and actually, so it's helping insulin be more effective. It's slowing down glucagon in your body. So insulin is trying to get the sugar out of your blood. Glucagon is trying to put sugar back in your blood. Either way, this product, this GLP-1 action of this actually helps that. So let's start with the GLP-1. Then I'm going to talk about a couple of other components that are present in this naturally occurring food. So we're, instead of medications, we're talking about a food source to actually change your health and get you better. So glucagon is that little hormone, right? But what it does is it helps regulate your appetite. So it reduces hunger by signaling fullness to the brain, but also to the gut. So Dr. Huberman has talked about it multiple times. It's not just the guys that I follow, but it's Dr. Huberman and a number of these other people have talked about the benefits of GLP-1 activation with yerba mate tea. What you don't know is that normal yerba mate tea is not giving you the level of activation. He'll even say that it's a small amount. So when we have a tea that's concentrated up to 375 times the amount of other normal teas, we can see a natural GLP-1 activation in our body of 70% increase. So that's a healthy rate, and it follows your body's ebbs and flows every day. The problems with the injectables is that they're not, I'm going to admit to this, I got it wrong. They're not injecting a synthetic form of GLP-1. What they are injecting is a synthetic something that binds to the GLP-1 receptors, tricking the body into thinking that it's GLP-1. But they're doing it at 3 to 400 times the amount that those medications were ever recommended to be used. Is there benefit from them in a small dose? Yeah. In the high doses that they're giving people for weight loss, there hasn't been enough research on the long-term effects. But what we do see is that people are having, pancreas problems, gastrointestinal problems, and thyroid problems, a number of problems after being on those injectables for a long time. So we don't want to go that route, but we want to utilize GLP-1 because it's a really great thing. And this, we're going to talk about why. So it gives you that appetite regulation. GLP-1, and remember, the tea is going to naturally increase. Your body is producing it. It's not being tricked by something else. Your body is producing GLP-1 with this tea in a way that your body can respond to in a healthy manner and not have all the negative side effects that those injectables can have. So it increases or improves insulin sensitivity, meaning that where you're once blocked from being able to use insulin, this GLP-1 activation helps us open up and be more receptive to insulin. Why is that important? Let's take a step back, because insulin is the lock that opens the cell door to allow energy in, energy being glucose. Part of the problem with insulin resistance is many of the cells are locked, and it's like that lock is rusty and insulin can no longer open it. The tea, through the activation of GLP-1, helps open that back up, helps that lock and key work better. So insulin's better able to address energy within the cells without causing damage. That's huge for us. That's huge. And this is why there's so many people talking about yerba mate on these other lives and whatnot. So one of the other things it does is it slows gastric emptying. So at the 70% increase that this does, that slowed gastric emptying, what that means is you stay fuller longer. You don't feel like eating all the time. You maintain that feeling of fullness. So how many people out there feel like when you eat, within a half an hour or so, you're hungry again? You just never feel like you're full. That's a GLP-1 problem. So what this does is it slows down the emptying of all of this food through your intestines, so you stay fuller longer and you're less likely to overeat. When you're less likely to overeat, you're less likely to, and the insulin is working better, you're less likely to crave the sugars that are causing the problem. Now we have a solution that works and is healthy for you. Okay. So GLP-1, besides doing all of that, it reduces your cravings as well through this gut brain axis, both in your gut and in your brain. It's reducing your cravings for sugars and salty foods and all of the things that are causing problems. But GLP-1 hormone can also improve your heart health. My heart was highly damaged. I had blood pressure that was out of control. And I've been struggling this year, not because I'm continuing to damage my heart, but from a heart that's been damaged over 30 years. But it's healing. My liver is healing. The fatty liver that I was developing from diabetes is healing and clearing up. And all I did, got off of 13 medications, was start drinking this tea twice a day because it works with my body. And why? This is giving me nutrients beyond this GLP-1 activation that are helping me sustain my health every day. So, how many of you guys would like that? How many of you would like to know that I can eat the way I eat, maybe make some small changes and add something in that tastes like a lemon tea that's going to give me this activation at a healthy rate that they're talking about with these medications that many metabolic specialists are saying they're pretty damaging. So that's a problem. All right. So unlike the pharmaceutical GLP-1 agonists, which can have those side effects of nausea, they cost a lot. This naturally elevated GLP-1 from this is gentle, sustainable, and it comes with additional health benefits from these other components that we're going to talk about now. So this natural stimulation of GLP-1 through this, instead of being something synthetic binding to your receptors in your body, this avoids overstimulation and ensuring a balanced approach to your metabolic health. Now, that high level of stimulation with those other injectables, that synthetic stuff that's binding to your hormone receptors. I just watched a short documentary on a woman who was doing those, ended up having her intestinal system just completely blocked, like it freezes your gut from being able to move food through. So people will get nasty, sorry for this terminology, but they'll get nasty farty burps when they're on those drugs because the food is not moving through at a normal rate or at a rate that's healthy. And so, yeah, they feel full, but the inflammation that's building is causing other things to feel wrong. And people have been hospitalized because that blockage is dangerous. So this woman actually went in, had the blockage removed, swore she was never going to do those medications again. And then as she started gaining weight because the root cause was not addressed, she started getting sick again, or she started getting heavy again. And so she went back on them secretly, thinking, I'm just going to do it for a little while. And it didn't work. She started losing the weight, but she got sick again and it almost cost her her life. And she said, no more, not doing it. So, yes, some people get through that just fine. But the problem is that many people are seeing really damaging effects from those. The metabolic scientists that I've sat in a room with and learned from say, tell your friends to never start it. And if they're on it, tell them to get off of it as quick as possible because you never know the damage that's happening internally till you end up in the hospital. So this does it naturally without all of those side effects. That's one of the big things people are talking about now. Again, it's a higher concentration of these components than any other tea you're going to find out there. It's a patented process. We're the only company out there who can offer this level of purity and concentration with yerba mate tea. Now, I talked about some other components, so let's talk about what those are. One of my favorite ones is called chlorogenic acids. That is 375 times higher in this tea than in any tea you can get on the market. So what's the big deal with chlorogenic acids? They give you energy. They help with mental clarity. They help with appetite regulation. They help with insulin sensitivity. So they're doing so many good things. It boosts fat metabolism. One of the problems you have when you're insulin resistant is you can't burn fat. You can't lose weight. How many of you guys, I was one, put a 1 in the chat if you have had problems losing weight, no matter what you do, no matter the calorie restrictions and eating well, you just can't lose weight. It's because your body is resistant to insulin. Insulin encourages fat storage. When we have high levels of insulin, we're encouraging our body to hold on to this source of energy, this thing, and store it as fat because insulin doesn't want to waste anything. It wants us to save it all. So we can't lose weight. This tea helps get the insulin down, especially when we use it with some intermittent fasting, and helps fat start to metabolize so you can use that for energy instead of trying to rely on sugar all the time. This is chlorogenic acids doing this for you. So it also promotes cardiovascular health. I attribute not only getting the sugars down in my system, but this tea, over the last 4 years, I went from 180 over 150 with my blood pressure on 13 different medications and a couple of them trying to address my blood pressure to having a blood pressure of 110 over 74, and I'm off all 13 medications by drinking a tea. I still have cake. We made some amazing jam thumbprint cookies tonight. You know, I had some, right? But I'm not damaging my heart. This actually, although I have a high amount of energy when I drink it, this actually is helping building heart health so that you have this lowered blood pressure. Your heart starts to be able to pump and get blood flow to parts of the body while we're having some of these issues up here, and it just supports your overall health. So that's chlorogenic acids in a nutshell. There's way more than that, but let's cut it at that. So then saponins, you guys, reishi tea and all of these things you guys have heard about on like TikTok shop goes through all of these cycles, right? For a while there was all this stuff about reishi tea and mud water and all of that. Saponins, which are the big component in those teas and all that stuff that they're talking about, is highly present in this tea. And why saponins? What they are is a natural plant compound with anti-inflammatory and immune boosting properties. So now we have energy, we have blood sugar regulation, we have insulin control, we have immune uh, effects, and we have anti-inflammatory effects with a tea that tastes like a lemon iced tea, and you just tear off the top and mix it in water. No crazy things that you have to carry around. This goes in my pocket, in my purse, in my luggage. I can take it anywhere. And it makes it easy. When I go to the Kings Island, the it's come on, an amusement park up here. I take this with me, and it's easy in my pocket. Have some water, mix it in. I'm good, right? That's easy. It's not like you're having to go search for this or carry a can into a theater or someplace where you can't carry those pre-made things into. So saponins, they have the anti-inflammatory effects. They help regulate cholesterol, and they help build good gut health by improving the gut barrier function, which is crucial for your overall metabolic health. Now, Maria, I love you, Maria. She messages me every day. We have some great stuff going back and forth between us. But she just said, "I love the tea and the new apple spice. Oh my God, to die for." So now, not only do we have it in a lemon with ginger. By the way, when I was doing the medical medium, I added ginger to everything because it's so great for your metabolism. Um, this we have lemon ginger, and we now have a flavor called apple spice, and it tastes just like it sounds, and it's yummy. She says she can't have her day without the tea 2 times a day. Her energy is fantastic with it. Yeah, I love the lemon ginger hot in the winter. So somebody's asking, where can you buy it? You're from the Philippines. When you go to the link in my profile, it's the link for the system I use is based on, sorry, I paused for a second, your IP address. So wherever you're at in the world, it's going to ship from, if it's available in your country, and we're available in over 50 countries worldwide. Not many products have that kind of regulatory approval worldwide, but it's going to find out where you're at, and it's going to direct you to the part of our company that's in your area of the world, and it's going to ship to you from there. So you're not waiting for it to come from the US. You're not. It's shipping to you, and we are available in the Philippines. So you just use my link. When you click on it, it's not going to take you to the US site. It's going to take you to the South Asian site where you can buy it there in the Philippines. So just click on the link and you'll find it there. Okay, so there's that. Now, the last thing in this. Now, I talked about chlorogenic acids. I talked about saponins, and now I'm going to talk about theobromine. So what it is, it's a mild stimulant that's also found in chocolate. There's 3 times the amount of theobromine in this as in the highest quality chocolates. Why that's good for you? It gives you steady energy, helping you avoid the jittery highs and crashes that you can get from caffeine and energy drinks. It helps increase mood. So theobromine can improve mood and focus by increasing blood flow to the brain. Did you guys know that your depression, your anxiety, those mood problems are not just born out of serotonin and dopamine problems? They're born out of problems getting actual blood flow into the brain. That happens and is a real problem with insulin resistance. This helps start to resolve that through the component of theobromine and the blood sugar regulation and the other things I've already talked about. But the theobromine is also good for heart health. Now, the other thing is this has every vitamin and mineral in it that is needed to sustain life. So let me say that again. This has every vitamin and mineral in it to sustain needed to sustain life. So this is called the food of the gods by the Argentinians who grow it. And again, this is extracted, highly purified, highly concentrated. You'll not find anything like it anywhere in the world. Companies have tried to duplicate these two products and they said they couldn't do it for the price that we're doing it for, which is about $5 a day for all three. Two tea and a pre-meal drink. It's about $5 a day. Now, Starbucks is costing people $8 to $10 a day. While running to the fast foods or buying the package of chips and the soda and all that, it's costing you more than that. And those things are what's damaging your health. This is a drink that I put in my Stanley mug. I don't put it in the little bottle that comes. I carry it in my Stanley mug so it stays cold or hot, whichever way I want it. And it just helps me throughout the day. I don't chug it. I sip on it. Caveat, you guys, I have ADHD. Sometimes I'll forget to mix my second one up. So what I've adopted is I mix both of them up, put them in about 40 ounces of water in my Stanley mug, and then that mug just goes with me everywhere I go throughout the day, and I'm just continually sipping on it. Energy stays high, mental clarity stays high, my heart is healing, my liver, I did a blood test the other day, and my liver, the fats in my liver, my triglycerides were low, my LDL was low, my HDL was up. And that's exactly where we want it to be, right? This is helping me achieve all of that. So Maria says, the Feel Great Simple system is simply the best. It's easy and it's simple. And Maria, you've been doing it for almost 3 years now, right? So, because this is simple. It's very, very simple. And that's, you don't have to suffer with weight. You don't have to suffer with all those diseases. You don't have to do all of that. You don't even have to understand all of the stuff that I just talked about why it works or how it works. We have a 90-day money back guarantee that assures that you're going to be happy with it or you're going to get your money back. Now, those injectables, almost 2 years. Those injectables that I talked about when I was talking about GLP-1 earlier, how many have ever heard of a money back guarantee on those injectables? I've never have. I was never given a money back guarantee anytime I ever picked up a prescription. Nobody ever put me on blood pressure medication and said, hey, 90 days, this is going to start to improve your blood pressure or we'll give you your money back. The doctor said, hey, follow my advice. If it doesn't work in 90 days, if you follow it to a T and it's not working for you, I'll give you your money back. Nobody ever told me that, but this system does that. If your blood sugars aren't down in 90 days, if your A1C isn't down in 90 days, if your triglycerides aren't down in 90 days, you can get your money back. No questions asked. They just say, okay, they want the lot number from the packages that you're returning so that they can make sure that something didn't go wrong in our approval process and that everybody is getting the highest quality product they need. But you'll get your money back. So when I started it, let's talk about that. When I started 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, almost 4 years, I was over 50 pounds heavier. My joints were failing. I was going blind. I couldn't see. I was losing hair on my head. I had excess hair on my face. I had skin takes on my neck, under my arms, in my groin. I had dark skin patches. I had these rings, these black rings around my neck, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, oh, it's just because I have this chin. Sun's not getting here. That's why. No, that's an insulin sign of insulin resistance. Those rings around your neck, the spots on your elbow. I used to have those dark patches on my elbow all the way up down to here. And now there's none of that discoloration. There's none of that scaliness. That's one of the things I check. If that ever starts to come back, I'll know that I'm in trouble again. So if you see those on your knees, around your ankles, anywhere where clothing rubs, ladies, it can be in your bra line, that's a sign of insulin resistance. All of that's gone. And all I did was add 2 real food products into my day. So the system has made all of that change, and that's why I'm here. You don't have to suffer with that. So 50 pounds gone, over 50 pounds gone. Diabetes reversed. My A1C went from 7.4 down to 5.3. My triglycerides and all my lipids are in normal range now. My edema's gone. My my brain fog is gone. My energy levels are back. My eyesight improved. I went from 3.0 diopter to 1.75 diopter in my glasses. So Maria says, injections, you better get ready for the long-term effects. And I agree. I can't tell you both long-term effects of injections and then those gastric bypass. I was listening to Dr. Bickman today talk about gastric bypass and how damaging those are long-term to your body. So Maria also says she started with the loss of her mother, extremely depressed, a horrible time. I can't imagine. I have to brace myself for that same thing, Maria. I'm very worried about my mom. But you know what? I know that my mom and I have a great relationship, and I know that the Unimate helps me with that brain function and stave off depression and anxiety. So Maria started with the loss of her mother, and she was severely insulin resistant. She had the big belly. She had the anxiety and depression and low energy and all of the things. And she started on the system. And if she could do it through her grief, through a time of extreme sadness and emotional turmoil of losing, her and her mother were extremely close. If she can do it, anyone can do it. She's 47 pounds down. What was your A1C when you started, Maria? It's now down to 5.2. And again, she's not doing medications. She's not doing injectables. She's not doing chemical synthetic things that could harm her body. She's adding nutrients into her day and allowing some intermittent fasting to help her get her insulin down. So very similar to me, Maria. She was at 7.3. I was at 7.4. She's now at 5.2. The last time I had blood work done, it was 5.3. I don't have to. That's the other thing. I was at the doctor's office at least twice a month. Every month, I was so sick. I thought by the time I was 65, I would be gone from this earth. I was so sick, and my body was literally just crumbling under me. I had a walker, I had a cane, I had disability plates on my car. I couldn't get up and down off the floor. I actually walked around with one of those picker tools so I could pick stuff up off the floor because I would have vertigo if I tried to bend over. And if I got down on the floor, getting up was way too painful. Okay. I had sleep apnea. I had fibromyalgia. I had all of those things that you guys are probably suffering with too. And I didn't know anything about insulin resistance when I started. Even though I worked in doctor's offices, no doctor really talked to me about insulin resistance. I sat in on drug rep lunches. I sat in on drug rep dinners. I sat in on educational things about weight and hormones a lot in the offices I worked in. And nobody ever talked about insulin resistance and that if we could get that under control, our metabolism would get better. Now, unfortunately for me, genetically, I have a metabolic type that's more susceptible to insulin resistance than most people. And my doctor, we ran all these tests, and she said, there's nothing I can do to help you. Wow, you guys, do you know how hard that was to hear? To have the person that you worked for and trusted in, because she was brilliant with hormones, tell you that your metabolism is the worst the type that they could ever imagine having come in and that there's nothing they could do. She literally told me I was always going to be fat, I was always going to be tired, I was always going to be sick, and there was nothing she could do to help me. That's devastating. If you've never been there, I want you to know that's devastating. But I know that there's a number of people just like me who have heard similar things from their doctor. And then I stumbled on this on TikTok, just like you guys are doing, or on Facebook Marketplace, whatever. But I said, I've tried everything else. I've tried everything. I've tried the medications, I've tried the medical medium, I've tried fasting and keto and all of these things, and nothing was working. And I thought, it's last ditch effort, right? Throw the dart blindfolded at the mark and see if it works. That's where I was, and it worked. So Maria says she's going tomorrow for her yearly physical, so she'll see what her A1C and fasting glucose is now. Her doctor's very interested, and she gave her the link to the system. We have a number of doctors who are getting on board, especially doctors who have seen their patients get results with it, doctors who've tried it themselves, pharmacists who've tried it themselves. They would maybe say, yeah, this doesn't sound like anything amazing, but we have a pharmacist who says that this is the best thing that he's seen come across his computer for any disorder in his many years in pharmacy practice. So you're just a number to doctors, unfortunately, Maria says. We have to be advocates for our health. Absolutely, we have to be advocates for our health. If I wasn't an advocate for my health, if Maria wasn't an advocate for her health, we would still be sick. And this came to a realization for me this year when I had 3 CVEs this year. Then I was scared, but at the same time, I thought, thank God I found this. Because had I not, those CVEs that are resultant of long-term hypertension that no doctor could manage, that could have taken my life. But now my heart's getting stronger. Remember, there's components in this that actually help your heart be stronger. My heart's healing. My liver's clearing of all the fats and is functioning more normally than ever. We'd be in the same cycle over and over. I heard, I think it was Gary Brecka talking about it, and he's like, how many times have you been put on a medication and you're on it, and instead of ever getting off because it's not fixing the problem, the doctor's upping the dose, upping the dose, upping the dose because you're actually getting worse. And at what point do we stop and say, is this working? Is this really making me better? Because most of them are not. So you guys just check out my profile. The link is in there. If you're interested in it, check out my videos. There's a lot of education in my videos. Hey, Skelly, I haven't seen you in a while too. I just saw your name pop up. And at A1 Spicy Lady, I was watching you earlier today. Great job. You explained things really good. So hypertension is so serious. People don't think it's it's just, high blood pressure. It's so common, right? Let's talk about that real quickly. I will do a talk maybe Friday on blood pressure and how it's linked to insulin resistance and why this is so crucial in helping you get your blood pressure down. So the nuts and bolts of it are about 95% of high blood pressure is linked to high levels of insulin and insulin resistance. 80% of CVEs, cardiovascular events, are linked to high blood pressure or a resultant of long-term high blood pressure. We're losing thousands, 30 or 50,000 people a day to CVEs. And when we look at those numbers and track it back, how many of them did not have to suffer or die from a CVE had they ever been talked to about insulin resistance and what really is causing your blood pressure to be high? So Friday, I'll give you the 5 ways that insulin resistance makes your blood pressure high. We'll talk some more about the system, but just know, you guys, it's 90 days. It's $5 a day or just over $5 a day. Can you do that for 90 days to see how much better you can feel? Because at the end of the 90 days, if it didn't work for you, you're getting your money back. It's like that's a risk, financial risk I would be willing to take. What I want to tell you though is it's not a risk. What I found is I have less snacking. I am not paying for 13 medications. I'm not paying for all the other crazy stuff that I was doing And yeah, we're going to go back to the medical medium. I'm not buying all of this high in nutrient stuff, but crazy things that I had to put together to try and get my health back, because these two components give me most of those nutrients in this one simple system that I just mix in water. Hot or cold, drink it, sip it during the day, start your morning with it. When your energy starts to dip or you have hunger in the afternoon, have your second one. This, you just mix in cold water, shake it up a couple of times, and drink it down with your meal, and it will reduce a blood sugar spike up to 37%. There is not another natural product on the market that can say that. In fact, these are both in the PDR, the prescriber's digital reference. For that reason, we have 18 natural products in the PDR, and we're one of the only companies in the world that even has natural products in the PDR. We've gotten through regulatory processes across the world. So order it. Again, the link is based on your IP address. So wherever you're at, I have people in the UK, I have people in Ireland and France and UAE and Australia and New Zealand and Philippines who have all started the system. So just try it. So Maria says she's poor and she can afford it because she's worth it. And that's where I was. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren. One of them is severely disabled, and I'm the backup support for the family. And if I didn't survive, I can't imagine how devastating it would be for my kids to try and deal with, not to toot my own horn because that's not what it's about, but just like I know that they need a lot of support. And if they didn't have my support, it would be very difficult on them and their marriage. And man, the love that that little boy gives me is just incredible, but I might not be here for that if I hadn't gotten this under control. So is $5 a day worth all of that to me? Damn straight. Damn straight. Like, look, there's some point we have to understand, if we're going to take care of our families, if we're going to love the people that we love, if we're going to be here for them, we have to put ourselves as some kind of priority. And this system did that for me. I had tried everything. I never did the GLP-1 drugs because I'd heard the stuff long ago about them. And I was just like, I don't want to put that in my body. I've never been a medication person. So we'll say that I've never been an advocate of medications. Even when I worked in doctors' offices and people would come in, especially in the hormone clinic, they would come in and talk to me about stuff, and then I'm passing the information off to the doctor. And more times than I can count, I would say to the doctor, "Hey, I have this information. This is what it is. Can I talk to the person about this more natural solution for them?" And she would say, "Absolutely, go talk to them." But I'm not an advocate for medications now. Antibiotics and some things are absolutely crucial. But most of the medications we're taking, we're not deficient in them. The lack of the medication is not what made us sick. So why don't we find out what is making us sick so we can actually address the problem? And that's what the system does. And yeah, Maria, when I started the system, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have that kind of money. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But on the other side of my brain, I was so sick. I thought, how can I not afford to do it? Plus, the guarantee meant that, at the worst, I wasn't going to see results and I was just going to get my money back. But I could say in the back of my mind, because I was so sick, I could say that I tried. I gave it the last shot, right? But guess what? It was the last shot because it got me better. And I'm not suffering with those things. I was in my kids' living room having sword fights and playing and wrestling with my 8-year-old grandson tonight because he wanted to have a sword fight. And I'm not going to deny him that. But the woman that I was 4 years ago wouldn't have been able to do that with him because I was in so much pain now. So you guys, that's it for tonight. $5, absolutely, definitely cost effective. Absolutely. Like once I started, there's no way for me to ever think that I would not have this in my life. If I have to budget around anything else, this is always going to be in my life. I jokingly tell my kids, when I get to a point where I am not functioning mentally, which I hope never happens, they better make sure I'm still getting this. And they know how serious I am about that. But they've also seen One more little story before I hop off. I was starting to show signs of Alzheimer's, and it's not something that's just like I talk about every day, but I was forgetting things. I would forget where I was. I would forget people's names. I couldn't remember facts, and I couldn't remember all of the things that made me me. I've always been really proud of the brain that I've had, but it was gone. And my son was terrified that he was going to have to take care of his mother because she was gonna be incapacitated by Alzheimer's. And tonight he gave me a big hug, and our relationship has grown so much, but he doesn't have those worries. He doesn't have to stress about his mom's health when he's already stressing about his son's health. That's a blessing that I can afford every single day. Maria says she can't stop and doesn't ever want to be without the system, and that's exactly how I feel. That's why we're here. So I've had I had a little video today where somebody was talking about the medical medium, and the last thing he said to me was, "Oh, you're just trying to sell something." No, I'm not. Yes, I am, and no, I'm not. I'm not just trying to sell something. I really am here because if I didn't know all of this stuff, if I didn't know how to get better, and I worked for doctors who ran every single test and threw every medication at me that they could, and I was getting sicker, how would you guys know? How would you have a chance in God's green earth to get better if somebody like me wasn't coming on telling you all of these things, that it doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to pump yourself full of all of that stuff that damages you. You can get healthier and you can get your life back. I will be 61 in 2 months, and I feel better than I did at 45. If you want that, yeah, thank you, Maria. She says, I'm an educator for us. And that's what I want. I want to educate you guys, understand that this is your health, take control of it, and hopefully give you a solution, an alternative that works for you, that can actually turn your health around, get your weight off, do all of the things. Tomorrow night, I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but we're going to come on. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but it's always about the system. It's always about getting your insulin resistance under control because it is linked. According to, I was listening to Ben Bickman, um, who wrote this book, Why We Get Sick. Okay. Top metabolic scientist in the world. And he says almost every chronic disorder we have today is linked or rooted in insulin resistance. Got to get the insulin resistance under control. And one of the quickest, easiest ways, and he even drinks this and utilizes this system himself. He actually had a part in developing this. Top metabolic scientist in the world helped develop this. Yeah, that's something I want to go. Triple 20 plus one. Yeah. Yahoo best years to come. Yeah. Yeah, I feel better, you guys. I feel so much better than I did 4 years ago. I feel better than I did 10 years ago, and I love my life. I walk through these amusement parks with my grandson. By the way, his disability is getting so bad. I was saying he would be in a wheelchair within 18 months. Whew, this is tough. Tonight I was having a conversation with my son, and we realized that that time is probably coming quicker than either of us are prepared for. But that's going to mean a lot of lifting of a little body. Now, if I was where I was at, I wouldn't be able to give him that care, but I can now. And that's a blessing to my life. So am I here to just sell something? No. I want this for every one of you. I want you to all know that you don't have to suffer. You don't have to live without answers. You don't have to live with things that you're being pumped full of that are making you sicker and not getting you better. There's a simple way to actually start feeling better, and it starts with this tea that we went over earlier and this pre-meal drink. Now, short versions of this video are going to start going up in the next couple of days, so you'll get all the information even if you missed it earlier. Just look for my shorts in TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. They're all everywhere you can find it. By the way, that link up above, if you want to find me on any of the other platforms, that's where you're going to find it. Information about the system is all there. And I love you all. Appreciate you for joining me tonight. I hope that you've heard something that helps you. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good night, guys. Good night, you guys.